I can tell you about how to build e-commerce website, but if I don't really help you with that, if I don't really support you on the journey, it doesn't really make a difference for you. The thing about Middle East is if you've never been to Middle East, or if you've only been here for holidays, you will probably have some idea which is not very accurate about the business ecosystem. For me, personally, I've been in Dubai for 8 years. The region is different, and when I say region, there's also a big difference between doing business in the UAE and doing business in Saudi Arabia, right?
Sure.
So yes, we help companies expand to Saudi Arabia. Typical story: if you're a startup in the UK and you start thinking about Middle East, obviously Dubai is usually the first thing you have on your radar.
Yeah.
But usually around like the first or second conversation we'll have with you, we would tell you, look, Dubai is cool. It's a great market, but it's a small market.
Welcome to the Sandpit Startups podcast, where we journey into the minds of the brightest and the best the region has to offer. We're here to connect the entrepreneurs in the studio with the entrepreneurs listening at home. We sincerely hope the next half an hour motivates, educates, or inspires you. And if it does, you know where the follow button is.
Joining us in today's episode is Lukas Krejca from Astrolabs. Astrolabs empowers tech startups and entrepreneurs in the Middle East. For startups, they not only have an academy that provides training and workshops, but it's also an innovation hub that provides partnerships with government and corporate organizations. Today, we'll dive into their journey and explore the incredible success stories they've helped create in the region. So without further ado, we warmly welcome Lukas on our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's our pleasure. So, Lukas, with Astrolabs being an innovation hub, for the people at home, as a preface to this podcast and listening to the rest of this episode, how would you define that? And what are the key things you're giving startups?
Great. So we literally like to think about ourselves as an ecosystem builder, which is nice words, but not many people can imagine what's behind it. So let's try to unpack it.
Sure.
When we think about like building an ecosystem, we see it like in 4 different ways. So when you're building an ecosystem, what you need first is to build new startups, right? So we're trying to empower entrepreneurs to start business, make it easier for them in the region, be it in the UAE or be it in Saudi Arabia. So whether you're starting new business or you're growing your business, you can join our community, you can join our co-working spaces, we can help you with licensing, we can help you find people. Maybe through some of our programs, we can help you grow faster. So that's new startups. Then when you're building ecosystem, you need to probably bring some startups from abroad who will bring some know-how, some innovation, which is not here. So that's where we're helping startups who are either from Europe, US, Asia, Africa, all over Middle East, to enter the GCC. Usually that's through Dubai, but recently that's more and more also through Saudi Arabia. Usually Dubai is the kind of first pit stop when they're entering the region. But that's how we really try to bring this innovation from outside to the region. The third step, when you're building ecosystem, you're trying to innovate what's already in there, being the corporations, being government organizations, and so on. That's happening through our programs. So when we run programs, that usually is targeting like some sector or it's targeting like some specific organization who wants to be more innovative, who wants to be kind of aligned with how fast the world is going. So example, we're working with Majid Al Futtaim, who wants to get inspired or closer to startups in prop tech industry. Okay. So we're running a program together with them where we're inviting and sourcing startups for them to find ways how organization like MAF, who's already very innovative, but they still want to get ahead of their competition. So how organization like this can work with startups. And last but not least is what you guys already mentioned is when you're building ecosystem, you need to build capabilities here. So the companies who want to innovate have a talent to work with.
Definitely. And also, I believe collaboration and networking plays a crucial role for the success of a startup, right? And because you create this ecosystem, there will be like-minded people in and around. So has there been any cases where there has been collaboration within the ecosystem or perhaps cross-country?
I think collaboration or community maybe is really in a nutshell of what Astrolabs is. Astrolabs started 10 years ago as a company by four founders, right? So when Luis Lebos, Mohamed Mekki started Astrolabs 10 years ago, when they left Namshi, they really wanted to create a space for founders because 10 years ago, the ecosystem here was very different.
Right.
It was very hard to learn anything about entrepreneurship. It was very hard to meet like-minded people. It was very hard to find people with the same challenges and help each other to overcome those challenges.
Yeah.
So kind of creating that space of where we can help one another to kind of grow this ecosystem. That was the original mission. And if you meet people who 10 years ago really started in a co-working space in GLT, that's what was this place about. That was the vibe which was there. And even today, as Astrolabs grew like 6x in terms of number of people from there, like we're trying to keep that in mind, and still the community, we're trying to keep it as in a core of what we're doing.
Yeah. We're going to take a brief break to hear from our sponsor, Middle East Advisory Partners, top-tier advisors servicing the owner-managed, family-run, and SME sector. Here's Paul Donnelly to give you the tip of the episode.
Adapt and innovate. The business world is constantly changing. Be ready to pivot strategies or adopt new technologies to stay relevant. Innovation keeps you ahead of your competitors and allows for continuous improvement. During COVID times, businesses that adapted to home working quickly saw smaller dips in performance and output.
If you'd like an experienced advisor on your team, reach them at me-advisorypartners.com. So you guys have clearly like been around the block, I suppose, and also seen a lot of successes, failures. I suppose probably what with that level of experience, like exposure, you've seen, some stuff. So I suppose what I'm digging at is like, is there anything juicy you can share with us in terms of like success stories or failure stories even? Could be quite interesting. Are you going to get in trouble?
I don't want to speak on behalf of others people and their stories, obviously. That's people who should sit in the seat and tell their stories. Being close to those startups, either in our space or in our programs, definitely like helps us to see the stories like in firsthand. And it really depends. Like everyone has a different story. Everyone is starting or getting on their entrepreneur journey from different background with different perspective, right? So it's really hard to say something like in general, but maybe if we deep dive a little bit, we can uncover some stories, because definitely there are some.
I think with that exposure, you're probably learning a lot vicariously. Like, what have you picked up over the years that's been really helpful for you? Whether it could be personal, like it could be a personal lesson.
So I can start with us, Astrolabs, in the first place. So Astrolabs is still bootstrap business.
Really?
Which at the size, so when I joined Astrolabs 3 years ago, we were around 30 people. Today we're around, 3 years ago, we were around 20 people. Today we're around 80 people.
Okay.
Majority of that now being in Saudi Arabia. So majority of my team is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
That growth and like being part of such a growth in a company which needs to make money for itself, where every month we need to make money for our salaries to keep the lights on and to fuel that growth, where there's no one like from background like fueling the growth. That's extremely valuable learning for me as someone like who feels like I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I know my next thing is probably my own business. Like being part of something like this is extremely valuable, and it's not that common that company of this size or company of this growth would be fully bootstrapped.
Yeah, you're right. We're going to take a brief break to hear from our sponsor, Inheden.
Hey there, visionaries and dream chasers. Meet Inheden, your ultimate partner in turning your visions into digital realities. They are not just another ID company. They are your growth partners, a tech angel invested in your success. Looking to expand your business or create an unforgettable user experience? Inheden has your back. With optimized software development, cutting-edge design, and a blend of in-depth research and marketing, they are here to help you empower your ideas. Curious? Head over to inheden.io. That's INHEADEN.io. And the details to get started with your dream project today. Dream, empower, inspire. Inheden. And the culture kind of rubs out on you, right? So because you are in and around people who are entrepreneurs. So you get to see each and every facet of an entrepreneur that needs to be, from the successes, from the failures. So you know what's needed to be done in order to, well, at least row in the right direction with the startup. But if you have to take some, let's say, inspiration, has there been any iconic startups that has been part of Astrolabs in the past or currently are? Because we understand that there are many startups, which are maybe more than 300 startups that has been part of Astrolabs, if not more.
It's over 1,000 today.
Over 1,000. So I definitely need a fact check. But if you could share some points or some inspirational stories, that would be super.
Yeah. So there are a couple of stories that stand out and that's my personal choice. One would be El Grocer.
Yeah.
So online grocery delivery startup who last year I think was acquired by Etisalat or and now.
Yes.
When the guys were part of the journey, like from the beginning at Astrolabs, and from just talking with them, you can see how much they valued the kind of support they got from the beginning, the level of mentorship or having a sounding board as a founder.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like, because being a founder can get very lonely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And if you're not part of a community where you have someone to bounce your ideas with, or if you don't have someone to challenge you, if you don't have someone to help you navigate in the difficult ecosystem here, it can get very challenging. So I know they appreciated this at the very beginning, but then they did amazing job in growing that company way further, all the way to the acquisition by someone as big as Etisalat. So that's super inspirational story.
Yes.
And they did amazing job. Another of my favorite stories is Claim.ai, where actually the founders of Claim.ai, they met in our space. So they joined our co-working space. They were working each of them on a separate project. But as I said, community is in the heart of what we're doing.
Yes.
So almost every week you will find some networking event we are doing or some matchmaking kind of event we're doing in a space, or in one way or another, we're trying to really inspire the collaboration between the companies in our space and between the entrepreneurs we have in our space. And luckily, these guys met, started discussing the ideas, and Claim.ai was born from there, which is amazing.
What is Clam.ai?
It's a fintech for health providers.
Okay.
So basically, if you're a hospital, also rather than waiting for your insurance claims to be paid, which can take over, I think 3-4 months is the average. Claim.ai can help you bridge that gap, basically. So it's a fintech solution for that.
So all these projects that have been successful and used you guys for a lot of, or
Resources, yeah.
maybe not used you guys. I don't know. That sounds a bit.
It is.
derogatory. Yeah. Okay. Used you guys
We're
for a lot
proud
of
of it.
resources. At least not abused. Used but not abused. What's the repeat behavior that you see them using you for? Like, what are the key things that you see these successful guys and girls doing?
So I will expand the answer not only on the community we have in a co-working space, but also in the entrepreneurs we see in our programs.
Yeah.
Because when we run our programs, like we get in touch very intensively for a couple of months with the founders or wannabe founders.
Right.
And there, maybe the difference is already even more visible, because if you already join the co-working space, you pay your license fee and stuff, you're pretty serious, right?
Yeah.
But in the programs, we see a lot, like there's a huge difference between people who are open-minded, who are open to get feedback, who are open to validate their ideas, who are open to navigate in the market, versus people who will come to the program. I have this brilliant idea. I don't want to even talk to anyone because they will steal my brilliant idea. And I don't need your feedback. I know exactly what I'm doing. Yes, I'm 22 years old. It's my first business, but I know exactly what I'm doing. So there's big difference in this mindset. And for people who are able to listen, get support, I think they're getting way more benefits from what's available now in the region.
Yeah. So you just ended there with the word region. You clearly help people to move to this region from abroad, such as the likes of Deliveroo and Fresher. But that's not it. You also help people start out here and also move away from here, or we should say expand. So what are the different tendencies between these different angles that you assist with?
So Yes, we help companies expand to Saudi Arabia. As I said, the typical story, if you're startup in the UK and you start thinking about Middle East, obviously Dubai is usually the first thing you have on your radar.
Yeah.
But usually around like the first or second conversation we'll have with you, we would tell you, look, Dubai is cool. It's a great market, but it's a small market.
Yeah.
If you want to be where things are booming and where things are interesting, that place is Saudi Arabia now. That market, the pace of growth in the market, the size of the opportunity, the drive that market has, the drive of the nation there, together with their Vision 2030, is unmatched, I think, now around the globe. So that's incredible opportunity for startups, and we're trying to tell them this. So those who are looking to expand there, we're helping them with that, because still in terms of like the infrastructure, it's way more challenging than it is in Dubai. You can think of Dubai 10, 12 years ago, how it wasn't easy to set up any type of business here. That's still sometimes the case in Saudi Arabia. And if you don't have someone who can help you through, who can navigate you, it's quite challenging.
But I feel like that shouldn't be a strong enough reason not to do it, because like the saying is like, what's good is not easy and what's easy is not good, right? So there's a price you pay to be like an early adopter or an early mover. So
if you wait for once it is easy, then
then you're too late.
Probably too late.
Yeah.
And for example, if I'm an entrepreneur, UAE is always it's dazzling, right? It's a prominent hub, Dubai especially. Saudi is always challenging, right? Would like to understand, how does Astrolabs probably help with the transition? Because, for example, if I set up in a free zone company here, it's much more difficult for me to expand my business in let's say, Saudi Arabia, in a particular city. But is it because of the fluidity of having a base in Dubai and in Riyadh that it's easier to open up shop there and also to expand?
If you're not from the region, then the middle step in Dubai probably makes sense, like to get first exposure to Middle East, to get first exposure to house business being done. But it shouldn't take you years, right?
Right.
So when you're asking like, what do we do with the startups, or like what's the platform we can provide them to Saudi Arabia? It sounds from outside that it's a typical licensing service that we will help you to get a license, which, as you said, is not as easy, as straightforward as it in Dubai. In Dubai or in the UAE, you have 30 plus free zones where you can go around, set up your business in pretty like easy to follow process nowadays. In Saudi Arabia, that's not the case. Yes, we have some special economic zones which are starting this year, but there's still lots to be figured out. So to set up a business, it's quite a process, which for some companies, if you try to do it directly, can easily take you 1 year.
Yeah.
We have a team of 30 local people on ground who are very skilled in what they're doing. We're able to shorten this time to 3-4 months. So that's first advantage. You have someone on the ground who will make sure that you get your paperwork done.
Yes.
Which is just the base for you to start a business, right? But from there, all the Astrolabs magic kind of starts. We're trying to think, okay, what else do you need as a company? So one is definitely the network, right?
Right.
We have a co-working space in Riyadh where you can again meet people who are already there, doing all the regular events, trying to plug you into the network. We can help you hire local talent because you have Saudization in Saudi, which in one way or another will probably apply to your business. So you need to know what the laws are, and then you need to find the local talent, which if you're somehow specialized business might be quite hard if you don't have any presence there. So that's another thing we can help you with there.
All right. So Saudi is a huge market. And of course, entrepreneurship is something that should definitely be used and must be quite popular now. Astrolabs must be doing its own effort to encourage this thought process of being entrepreneurs, having startups there. So if you could share if there are certain programs that you're considering or conducting there.
Yeah. So in Saudi, there's huge drive towards entrepreneurship nowadays. And it's really interesting, really inspiring to see that drive. Vision 2030 on its own is mandating the country to grow the number of SMEs, the number of startups, obviously to decrease the dependency on oil and so on.
Shifting the mindset.
Shifting the mindset a lot. Obviously, women joining the workforce a couple of years ago. Saudi is very young population. By nature, this young population, suddenly their default is not to just like study and get a good job, but this young population very often like studied abroad. They saw the startups there. They're coming back with their ideas or with their ideas how to innovate in their home country, which is really cool. The type of programs we're running there are all around the entrepreneurship spectrum. It can be either with the startups, but it's also on a more, let's say, traditional side of entrepreneurship, so with local SMEs very often.
Okay.
One of our favorite programs is, you should not have a favorite child. But, flagship programs, let's say, is been happening last 2 years almost in Al Ula. So
Alula,
beautiful region, but in the middle of desert where entrepreneurship has been very traditional thing of like farmers, very local restaurants, very local shops. But Al Ula is becoming a tourist destination. It's one of the most beautiful places I've seen, to be honest. And they know that the growth of such a place will happen through SMEs. And there's many of the SMEs, but they need help to be able to cater to suddenly international demand. So we've been running a SME accelerator program there where we try to help those SMEs to grow their business, to really figure out what their products like and to grow it basically through that, which has been really interesting journey. I can share like one of my favorite stories from there. Think of we had a guy who owns a honey farm, and for ages he's been selling just in basically his city, right, in Al Ula. Suddenly he joined the program. Throughout the program, we help him like set up a website, set up e-commerce website, build up social media presence, run the first campaign, and suddenly he's getting orders from all around the country. He's getting B2B orders. He's getting orders from abroad because people liked his product because it's really
from
good
local
honey.
Yeah.
Right, but suddenly from a family farm where you're selling to a couple of neighbors, you're becoming a real business.
Yes.
And it's really interesting to see it like in this context where what we know about the tech startups, like we're trying to, in a way, translate it to the world of SMEs and such traditional sectors.
That's really interesting. It's like when you think of startups and entrepreneurship, it's all like glitz and glam and the next like fintech thing and medtech thing and everything's so advanced. But it's interesting that they're having this approach of like approaching the grassroots businesses, the ones that service their really local community and say, hey guys, like you are the foundation of this economy and we can really make this boom if we all work together and do some really great things.
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear.
And that's where like I spoke about Astrolabs being bootstrap company and like the DNA of the company, right?
Yeah.
That's where if you go back to this like real entrepreneurship, like not only looking at the like glancy stuff.
Yes.
That's where it's very transmittable between startups and SMEs because like, okay, if you want to build your business for profit or if you want to find the right product market fit, if you want to figure out what your business model is, these things apply no matter if you're a tech startups or if you're a honey farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, the context is very different. The maturity is different. The PowerPoint slides are less fancy, but the capabilities you need to have as a business owner are the same.
Yeah. In terms of inbound from maybe Dubai, maybe Saudi, or just like this region in general, what are the key things that you need to consider before coming here?
So the thing about Middle East is if you've never been to Middle East or if you've only been here for holidays, you will probably have some idea which is not very accurate about the business ecosystem here. So you should do a lot of research. You should speak with someone who's doing business here in the first place, and that might break some of those ideas you have about the region in the first place. For me personally, I've been in Dubai for 8 years. Last couple of years, very intensively involved in Saudi. The region is different, and when I say region, there's also a big difference between doing business in the UAE and doing business in Saudi Arabia, right?
Sure.
So first thing you should know is probably that the business is different, the culture is different. While Dubai is extremely cosmopolitan city, there's certain culture, there's certain things like people are used to. You should figure it out. I don't know. For me, as entrepreneur, was very new to start conducting business on WhatsApp. And when I speak with my friends who are doing business in Europe, it's something unheard of.
Yes.
And something like which like they can't comprehend it. Like why?
How is this happening?
But like I closed a $1 million contract almost on through WhatsApp. And, like it's normal. Like, so like small things like this are probably getting you closer. I think one thing people very often underestimate is how important is the presence here and like really being here. And it's becoming increasingly important in Saudi. One, if you want to do some like government related business, you will need to have the presence going forward. You will need to basically be based there. You will need to have an entity there. You will need to have a local team there. But also you're missing out so much on the context if you're not physically in the place. Yeah. And Dubai is still that place where many businesses try to approach it like, okay, I will just like fly in like once a month, you know, like do a couple of meetings. I think all of us like get the LinkedIn messages like, hey, our CEO is coming to Dubai next week and you should definitely meet him. No, I will not meet him because I'm in Dubai. If someone wants to do business in Dubai, he should be in Dubai as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And that's how many people think. And I think it's even stronger in Saudi, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And when you go there, when you visit there, you see, at least for me, it was like extremely helpful to spend time and even spend like non-work time, like to really understand the culture, to see the places, gets you a way better perspective on how to do the business.
Well, it's an effort for them to develop the country rather than just make a bunch of money. So they don't want people just going there and making money. They want people going there and living there and enjoying the experience and being all about it, like living the life. So it makes a lot of sense. Plus, like you mentioned on culture, you don't really pick up culture unless you actually live the life. Yeah. That non-work time is massive as well. Just the tiny interactions you have with anyone, anywhere, taxi driver, whoever's making your coffee, like...
Yeah, look, the most I've learned personally about Saudi Arabia was over dinners, which are happening after 10 p.m. in Saudi. Yeah. You don't learn this over Zoom calls.
No, definitely doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So there is this program that you had with PepsiCo, which was being published, and it was very interesting for me to understand that why would PepsiCo like to work with startups and how Astrolabs played a role of a catalyst in this altogether.
It was, again, one of my favorite childs. So yes, we recently conducted a program with PepsiCo in Saudi Arabia. It was e-commerce accelerator. So basically they decided that they want to find entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs who would benefit from real learning how to do e-commerce business, how to use online tools for running their business and growing the business itself.
Okay.
For them, it was a part of their Proudly Saudi campaign. So PepsiCo has been in Saudi for many years. They're a very strong part of the community, and they're supporting the community in multiple ways. So they saw supporting SMEs or supporting entrepreneurship as something which makes sense in this line, while it seems to have to do nothing with their core business, but just from the angle of like supporting the community, it just made sense for them. So we've run this program with them. We had 100 entrepreneurs to join this program. It was 3 months program, if I'm not mistaken. We had 4 different tracks. Many entrepreneurs basically went till the end. Graduated from the program with significant revenue growth. We had 2 groups of people there. One was, I already have e-commerce business. I want to grow it more. Second was, I don't really have e-commerce business. Maybe today I'm selling some products on Instagram or Snapchat, but I don't know how to do website and how to really make it e-commerce business. So in this second category, we had around, if I'm not mistaken, 15 to 20 entrepreneurs who made their first online sales during the program, online through their website. We had even companies. For example, one of the companies or entrepreneurs we had there was a family company who's doing like a natural oils. So think of any kind of natural oils. Yeah. Very traditional company, but basically the daughters of the founder, they are now tasked. It's traditional B2B company, but they're trying to venture to B2C now. And they're trying to venture to it through online. Right? The company has never done it. The daughters basically were mandated in a family business to explore the direction. They joined our program. They started working on their website for the company. They started selling products online through the website. So yeah, one of the examples of like really interesting initiatives which like creates the real outcomes for the startups and for the ecosystem. It was like really inspirational program even for us to see what types of businesses are happening all around the kingdom. We had, for example, another really interesting story was a lady who's running a coffee business. So she's roasting a Saudi coffee. Okay. She's not only bringing beans from like Latin America, Asia, as we would expect, but they're also doing Saudi coffee from the south of Saudi Arabia.
All right.
Really interesting. And the coffee is really good. Again, she grew her business through online, set up the B2C arm of the business, and it's like growing her sales online. So these are like stories we're always proud of.
It's really nice how tangibly you can like speak about that. About like, yeah, here's what we did, and here's the outcome, and here's how they're doing now, and all this stuff. It's really nice. Yeah,
this is. So we like to say at Astrolabs that we're all about outcomes, and we truly are. It's sometimes hard to explain it to the client, and sometimes we complicate our lives a lot. But this is what we like about what we do. We don't really like to run just, okay, let's deliver a couple of training sessions, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Because we know nothing happens. Like I can tell you about how to build e-commerce website, but if I don't really help you with that, if I don't really support you on the journey, it doesn't really make a difference for you. Because if the information would make a difference, you can Google that information today.
Probably watch a YouTube video, but that doesn't help.
Or you ask ChatGPT to build that website for you. I mean, like having or not having the information is not the difference today, to be honest. Like it's how you do it and it's how fast you can get to the execution, right?
So also understanding the reasons why behind the information. Like, yeah, sure, you can Google the answer, but it doesn't really tell you like how the process of like how they got to that answer.
Yeah, and there are like, again, different reasons and different backgrounds why people want to start their business, right? In Saudi Arabia, it's not uncommon. Like many, or I would even say majority of our participants in the programs, in the entrepreneurship programs, they have their full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Majority of our participants. So in the PepsiCo program, for example, all of them were, I think, Saudi nationals. We had around 65% of women in the program.
Wow, fantastic.
It is, but it was not surprising for us. Like from the programs we see in Saudi, this is very often the case. Like the women entrepreneurship drive there is amazing, and they're really driving the ecosystem forward. So with that in mind, again, if you're designing for outcomes, it takes maybe more effort, but then that's what brings you the results, and that what helps people in the end.
So we're quickly running out of time. So we'll just leave you this last question. If you can leave the viewers with one nugget of knowledge, what would that be?
So I would say to people who want to start their business, like do it. It's best time I can imagine, especially if you're thinking about business in Saudi Arabia. Do it.
It's a good time now.
It's the growth and the fast, the speed of changes there, the speed of the growth in the ecosystem, the support you can get from different angles. Just all adds up. And again, I think it's a very unique situation which is there. So if you're thinking about it, I think now is the right time to do it. If you will sleep on it for a year or two, you might
miss the opportunity.
Yeah, you might miss a lot. If you're a new entrepreneur, you're thinking about starting business, again, do it, but learn about how things work, who are your customers in the region, what are their habits today, and what your solution might do differently, and if it makes sense. Because if you see, an app is working somewhere in the US, maybe it might not work the same way in the Middle East, just because like the consumers' habits are different.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an awesome experience.
Yeah, it was lovely hearing about all the information about Saudi and also the local market. It's been really enlightening.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Our pleasure.